Hello, and I'm Alice Guy, and today I'm going to read you Jane Austen. But before we start, let me show you Jane Austen £10. Now, this is a story about a woman called Jane. She's a writer. She wanted to marry Tom, but Tom's family didn't think that Jane was good enough for their son. So Tom proposed to Rich Harris's rich woman, to please his family. Let's hear about her story. Little People, Big Dreams, Jane Austen. The Austen family lived in the heart of the English countryside. Countryside is not the town, it's just nature, lots of nature. Every evening there were 8 children seated at the table. 8 children, that is a lot of children. James, George, Edward, Henry, Frank, Charles, Cassandra, and little Jane. At that time, girls were only allowed to do things like singing, sewing, and housework. Jane and her sister Cassandra found being a girl a bit of pain. Oh, poo-poo. Hee poo-poo. Maybe it's not poo-poo. I don't know. However, Jane's father ran a school and taught the sons of wealthy men. One day, he asked his daughters to join their classes and learn the same thing as men. Boring, boring. Jane loved to read. She always chose a book instead of her dolls and spent endless means there is no end, hours in her parents' library. Jane and her siblings would often write and perform their own plays. She came up with the best stories and soon realized she wanted to become a writer. Every night, her 7 brothers and sisters sat around the fireplace. They loved listening to Jane's stories until it was time to go to bed. One evening, Jane was at a ball and met a young man named Tom. As they talked, they fell more and more in love with each other. But Tom's family thought Jane wasn't good enough for their son, and instead of fighting for what he wanted, he proposed to Rich Harris to please his family. Rich Harris is a rich woman. See, Rich Harris. Jane decided to write a similar story to this, but with much a happier ending, and so the novel Pride and Prejudice was born. A darling girl named Lizzie was its heroine. Jane kept on writing about young women who were brave enough to make their own choices and who never gave up. Anne, Emma, Marianne. Oh, Marianne is the same name as my friend. Catherine. Oh, Catherine was one of the wives of Henry VIII. Fanny, Elizabeth. When her first book came out, many people loved it, but Jane decided to keep her name a secret. Jane went on to write 7 novels full of grace and talent. Little did she know that one day she would be considered one of the greatest writers in the world. Little Jane would be happy that the books she once wrote are the ones we still love reading today. If you're in England, you could even visit Jane Austen's House Museum, where Jane lived. Mom, Mummy, can we visit Jane Austen's house museum, please? £10. This is really rich, isn't it, Mummy? Well, since I read you at the very end that there's a Jane Austen museum, why don't you go after the coronavirus ends and see where Jane lived? Thanks for watching, everyone. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe for more videos. See you next time.